We need to daven so hard that this all makes sense because there's so much teachings. I can only pick like 3.
We have so many.
There's so many teachings.
Whoa.
We gotta daven for everything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please give us clarity in all of our Torah. We're gonna start with the Shishat Zion. It's right in the middle, top middle. V'nachul la'olam, and you'll inherit it forever. Gevalt forever. Kasuv HaNetziv, the Netziv writes, the mashmau she'ein la hefsek. The implications of what this pasuk is telling us is that there's no hefsek ever. There is no stop, there's no break, there's no ending, and there's no pause for our inheritance of Eretz Yisrael. V'afilu b'shah she'goylem mimeno. And even in a time where we're in exile and we're not living in our beautiful Eretz Yisrael, harahi shalahem, he still belongs to you. Nachlel olam, even if you're not there, it's still yours. That's from the Emek HaDavar. Ha'emek Davar. Not the Emek HaDavar, it's something else. That in of itself is the teaching we can end with for tonight and end now. But it'll be sad, because it's not enough Torah. Al Yidei Zeh Muvan Psak, Sharvin Nachshon Gon. Oh, Gevald, welcome. And therefore, we can understand the Psak Halacha of Rav Nachshon Gon. It's brought down from the Rami Rottenberg. In every single generation, every single Jew that's ever born, that ever lives, he has ownership over 4 amos in Eretz Yisrael. Every single Jew, that includes you, that includes you, that includes you, every single, and you too. And every single Yid in the entire world owns Daled amos in Eretz Yisrael. L'chein huva gam b'Tosfos, in Bava Basra. Afilu haLevim yesh lem chelek b'karkev ne'arei haLevim. Even the Leviim, who we know on a pshat level don't have a chelek in Eretz Yisrael, in terms of nachlan, in terms of having yushas haaretz. Even them, they do on a certain level do have. Every single Yid, Gevalt, every single Yid has nachlan in Eretz Yisrael, la'olam, bli hefsek. There's no hefsek, there's no stop, there's no pause, there's no end. It doesn't ever end, even if a Jew's menutak, if he's distant, if he's disconnected, if he's far away, he still has a chelek in Eretz Yisrael. And if a person has a chelek in Eretz Yisrael, like we learned Rabbi Nachman tonight, that Emunah and Tefillah and Eretz Yisrael and Emes, it's all the same thing. If a person has a chelik in Eretz Yisrael, that means like, oh my gosh, it's so good. That means that Yeshua is telling us, Rav Moshe Tziriel is telling us that if a Jew has a chelik in Daled Amos in Eretz Yisrael, that means he also has a chelik in Emunah. That means he also has a chelik in Tefillah. Every single Jew, as long as he's alive, he has a chelik in being able to daven. This Torah can go on for hours now that we've connected to Rabbi Nachman. Sadak, he said, Olam Nachman, okay. That's Eretz Yisrael teaching. It's life teaching. Okay. Now we're going to teach a teaching. So many to choose from. Gevalt. Okay, Rabbi Nachman, this is a serious lesson for Rabbi Nachman. Bottom left, I feel like I'm playing bingo. And you sinned a big sin. Human beings are the biggest obstacle to becoming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Wow, what do you mean? Yitzhak, Yitzhar, all these different things. No! Stupid answer. Rabbi Nachman says, he doesn't say that. He says you're a big obstacle. A Jew, not a Jew, a person, a Ben Adam, a person with Bechira has a bigger possibility and a stronger action in order to cause a person to sin more than the Davar Achar itself, more than the Sitra Achar, more than the Yitzhar itself. We know this because Achrei Matan Torah, after Matan Torah, after we receive the Torah and Har Sinai, the highest moment of the world, what happens? We know that Am Yisrael gets completely healed from all of their sins. We get clean from everything that ever happened to us. Every single Jew is healthy. Any sickness they had went away. They were clean from the Zuhama. They were clean from the spiritual filth that was connected to us with Chet Adam Rishon from the Nachash. You are like gods right now. Not that you're gods, but that you're clean, you're pure, and you're the purest level ever. That means the Baal Davar Yitzhar didn't have a place to make a sin. He wasn't there, he was gone, he was done. The Baal Davar was dead. Please let us feel that. The Baal Davar was gone, he wasn't in our lives, but what happens nonetheless? Even then, Bnei Adam, people of choice, Shema Erevav, the Erevav, the people who joined in Am Yisrael who were kind of confused. And because of those people, because these people, not Yitzhar, the people, human beings, cause us to sin. I don't want to say this for too long because it's a very sad teaching. It's a very sad teaching about our kochos, of negative kochos we have, but the good kochos. That if, I'm going to take this extra step, I'm not going to explain the pshat, what Rabbi Nachman is saying, because it's too much for me right now, I don't want to think about that, but to take it to the flip side, that Adar goes on and gets even happier. Purim is not the climax. The end of Adar is not the climax. That means when Adar comes, we begin to be Amar Simcha. But when do we stop having Simcha? That means up until Av, our Simcha has to be going high and high and high and high and high. That means it doesn't end. So we have to keep working on our Simcha. So what does Rabbi Nachman teaching us in the Hafuch, in the opposite? That if Bnei Adam have an opportunity and the ability to cause humans to sin, that means we also have the Etzem ability and more of an ability than the Yetzer Tov. We have inherent abilities as well to bring a person to do mitzvahs. The opposite is always true. That's Rabbi Nachman. Let's do a teaching. Let's do a teaching from Dagam Achon Ephraim. So says Avi Cohen. Oh, good choice. Dagam Achon Ephraim, top right. Bingo! Ufen Acher! Yesh Lamar Al Pisha Shmati Mechachamecha B'Dorenu Halo Hu Harav HaMagid Mipolo HaToldos Yaakov Yosef HaKohen. The Tolos Yaakov Yosef. The Tolos Yaakov Yosef. The Avi Cohen. The Tolos Yaakov Yosef, who was the main student of the Baal Shem Tov, who brought out all of his teachings. This is him. So he says like this, Ki hamashal sh'adam yagea ha'moach shelo yedei shelo yoshen kol tzorcho. A mashal is like this for how the world works. A person doesn't go to sleep properly. A person's head doesn't get proper amount of rest. My brain needs to sleep. It needs to refresh itself. It needs to refresh itself. It needs to give itself liquids. As I call ha'ivarim kvedim alav ein riyachol l'naneo sam b'shum alacho mashal masu matan. If my head doesn't work properly, if my brain isn't working properly, therefore my body doesn't work properly either. Everyone knows that if you have a bad night's sleep, your body isn't working properly. Everyone knows who's going to run the marathon tomorrow. They have to go to sleep really early. They're not learning Torah because they're not going to be able to run properly if their brain doesn't sleep properly. When the brains, when you have moichin that are empty and strong and wide and able to accept, and they're kalim, as I above the zihirus l'kol ha'evarim, then clarity and zeal comes to all of the limbs. We don't need to explain this anymore because we all understand this. If a person doesn't sleep properly, you can't act properly. Your bifol doesn't work. Your meisim don't work properly. It's nature, it's biology. But how does it have to do with our lives? Besides the fact it's biology. We just said that this is the same thing this mashal applies to the world because tzaddikim are considered to be the rosh. The tzaddikei hador are considered to be the heads of the world. Ha'am nikreim ha'evrei tzaddik, and the nation are considered the limbs of the tzaddik. Ukshaharosh, that in itself is a whole shir. Ukshaharosh panoi hainu ha'tzaddik sheish lo harchava v'hu panoi mikol esakim v'tirdos. When a tzaddik is empty from all things that are bothering him and all the things that can mess him up with his emunah, when he's clear and he's free and people are serving him so he doesn't have to worry about the worldly things. As the mele yachol lahalos kol ha'evarim shelo hainu hamoni am v'yavo b'hiras zirizus lahem la'avodas ha'breis b'ach shema v'yis'ala. When a tzaddik is free, when a tzaddik is able to do his avodah, therefore his evarim, the hamonei am, the people of the world can do their avodah properly. There's a classic teaching, this is the beginning of Chassidus, teaching the midah of a tzaddik. It's important to have a tzaddik, to recognize tzaddikim, to have emunah in the chachma of tzaddikim. This is the beginning of the teaching. And he goes on to explain how this is connected to the pasuk. But I want to, Kitisa is rosh, Kitisa is to bring it up. However, we all have to look at ourselves. This is not pshat in what Chassidus is telling us, but we have to understand this as ourselves to understand our potential. We all have to view ourselves as heads of the world. We have to view ourselves as people who can change the world, kol kulo, and therefore we have to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that everything in the world, with regards to parnasa, with regards to avodah, with regards to malacha, all these different things, they should happen. They should happen their own way, but those things should be kol kulo Hashem. It should all be for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And as long as it's all for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not a tir, it's not a problem, it's not a distraction to me. And if I can have these things, I know that everything I'm doing is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And everything I'm doing in my life is Leman Shemo, Leman Shemo, B'Ahava. As long as I know that everything I'm doing in my life is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, therefore through my clarity and my zrizus, the whole world is able to do their avodah also. Therefore I am the head of the world. It's a lot of achrayos we have, a lot of obligations. Moving on, how much time do we have? I don't want to bore everyone in the world. We have so much time. The Meshilach, flowing waters. This is such a teaching of the flowing water. Top left. Bingo! Inyan rechitzas hakohanim yakir hu inyan siluk v'hasaras negia. The whole Indian of washing your hands of the Kohanim and the Kior in the beautiful, beautiful water pot is all about the concept of getting rid of negia, of tumidic things touching us. Because this is what washing is about. When we talk about the Egla Aruf, about the Yid who dies in between two cities, we don't know who is liable for it. I don't know the whole passage. Right? They come, they wash their hands, and the Zikanim say, we didn't spill this blood. It wasn't our fault. But they wash their hands, therefore the negia is gone. Their interaction with this Maisa is completely turned away. They said that we don't have any chelik in this, we have no part in this Maisa. And the Kohen also, he has a tzorach, he has a need to be involved in washing. That when a Kohen comes and does do his avodah, he can be very gaivadik. Look at me, I'm serving the whole world, I'm in charge. I'm the priest. You look at the priests and the Aztecs and the Indians, Native Americans, all these people, who are the priests? Priests are gaivadik people. They're running the world, they get all the money, they get all the best fruit, they get all the best meat. It's a gaiva thing, you can become to be like the Melech. So what does the Kohen have to do every single day he comes into his avodah? He washes his hands and he washes his feet to get rid of the negia. He only is doing that which HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants him to do. Therefore, we're commanded, we have to wash our hands before Shachris. And you even look at further in Halacha, it's a mitzvah tova to also wash your hands before Mincha and before Mariv. You also have to wash your hands before you have Suda. Before a Jew begins to get involved in tzarchei guf, in the demands and the needs of our body, with daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have to say a really intense tefillah. Because right now I'm serving myself. This is a big moment of gaiva. This is a big moment of me saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not part of my life. When I'm about to take that first bite of that delicious challah, and I'm going to have a beautiful steak meal with a glass of RC, or maybe wine, or maybe green beans, a glass of green beans. So when I'm about to do that, what am I supposed to do? Before I go and I wash my hands, and I say a tefillah, all the chassidim, all the mekubal, and they bring down, there's lots of prakim tefillin you say before every single suda. You ever have shachar simcha mariv, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you say tefillahs before you daven, before you eat. Because at this moment, you're deciding whether HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in your life. We'll stop there with this teaching. Right? Meshulach is very, very important teaching. Very, very, very important. Everything we do in our lives, if it's tzarchei aguf, if it's part of this world, we have to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu very, very hard. We have to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with all our hearts and all our minds. That which we're doing should only be part of our Tzon Hashem. That even if I'm eating right now, that my eating right now can kol kulo be part of avoda. The Kohen Gadol in his avoda, everything that he did was for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Even though he ate a lot of food, that was his parnasa. But everything about his avoda was for Hashem. Okay, we're going to get a lot into it today. Kva, teachings. Have we learned the Kedushas Levi yet? Someone teach me, have we learned the Kedushas Levi yet? I do not think so. Which means we have a chiyuv. We have a chiyuv.
Tonight?
Right now.
No.
This teaching we're about to learn right now. Kedushas Levi, Levi Yitzchak from Tarasasha, Berdichev, the mamtik of all the dinim. He sweetens all the dins. Everything in the world should be sweet. It should all be sweet like sugar. But it should be sweeter. It should all be sweet like Torah. The Kedushas Levi says, Levi Yitzchak from Tarasasha says like this, O Yevor. Kitisa is Rosh B'nai Yisrael, it's Kudehem, V'nosnu Ish Kofer Nafshel Hashem. And every single Jew comes, and he gives in order to be Kofer on his nefesh. Haklal, the general rule is like this. Ki Adam HaRoitzel Yispalel Al Yisrael. If a Jew wants to daven from Yisrael, this is a teaching that if you want to know who the Kedushas Levi was, it's this teaching. Every now and then you find the Kedushas Levi a gem. You find a gem that says this is written. This could only have been written by the Kedushas Levi because only Kedushas Levi could say something like this because he is our lawyer and he's our attorney in Shemaim. He's davening for us every single moment that we're breathing. And this is his teaching. If a Jew wants to come and daven for the Jewish people in a time that they are in sadness, a time that they are in destruction, a time that they need help, we have to bring Am Yisrael up, raise them up. He should say that whatever is going on, all the tzara, all the decrees, everything going on bad in the world, this has nothing to do. This has no negia, this has no touching, this is not even anything shayach to Am Yisrael. Ki'im Hashem, this is all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This isn't Am Yisrael's fault. We have to raise them up. Bring them up to Hashem. As long as Am Yisrael is shayach to Hashem, so it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's fault. It's in his court. This is a crazy thing the Kedusha Levi is saying. And when a person is bitzar, when a person is in sadness, when a person is in hardships, when a person is going through hard times in his life, the Shekhinah also is bitzara. When Am Yisrael is in Galus, the Shekhinah is in Galus. And we find there's a very high level of being La Hashem, of being someone who is kol kulo connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. His neshama is always in his avoda, his maisa. Everything, all of his actions are always connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And through this, we're able to be saved from our hardships. V'zehu haremez ki tisa es rosh b'nei Yisrael klomar la'alus osam ki milatisa lashon aliyah ki tisa es rosh b'nei Yisrael. When you raise up Am Yisrael, ki tisa es rosh. It's a beautiful way of understanding this pasuk. Ki tisa es rosh. When you raise up b'nei Yisrael. Lifkudehem lashon chisaron al shem hapasuk v'yivkod makam David. Lifkudehem also could mean the chisornam, to their that which they're lacking. Now we understand the pasuk. So when we're raising Am Yisrael up, when we're raising up their chisronos, what they're lacking, when you raise that up to a place, sheYisrael hem chaserim mitovas haborei azay ma'alosam. Umefarish hapasuk eich ma'alosam v'natnu ish kofer nafsh l'Hashem dahainu ha'nefesh adam v'hu la'Hashem. How does a person save himself? By saying that my nefesh is L'Hashem. Like we said earlier by the Mishlach about washing our hands to Yosdayim. If a person is connected, as long as a person decides and says, I'm connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can be connected to him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to save you. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want to be tzara. And as long as I'm connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's going to feel my tzara. And therefore, if a Jew wants to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have to find a kudatobas about Am Yisrael. We have to raise them up and say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is your Am. Ata b'chartanu. You chose us. That means you're achrayana. You have an obligation to us. Kedusha Levi is anything in order to save Am Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's in your court. It's for you. It's how we daven. We have to be chutzpahdik sometimes. Also, the Kedusha Rabbi Nachman says, we have to be chutzpahdik in our avodah. It's very, very important. Okay. 2 teachings from the Chilul Shirim. I think we have time for this. Please permit me to go long, people of the world. Milas HaMizrahi B'Lov Kol B'nei Levi. Uve'emes hayu od in the Chilul Shirim number 2. Uve'emes hayu od Yehudim shelo avdu la'egel. V'harayah shelo nanshu rak 3,000 ish. There was a lot of Jews who didn't make a cheder egel. It's a fact. But how come there were only 3,000 Jews who weren't punished? There were only 3,000 Jews who were punished. There's a lot more than 3,000 Jews that were there. So how come only 3,000 were punished? Because everyone else in the world, okay, they weren't serving it, but what were they doing in the meantime? They were sitting there, okay, they're going to sin. But they didn't have inner strength, they didn't have confidence, they didn't have self-esteem, they didn't have azaz kedusha, they didn't have chutzpahdik, they didn't have no chutzpahdik. The pintel yid was not chutzpah. The pintel yid inside of them was not a chutzpahdik pintel yid. He was stam a pintel yid. They didn't have the koach to bring themselves close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They were like those who didn't want to get involved. I don't want to bring my chokas, I don't get involved, it's not worth it. Okay, he's making his own mistakes, but I'm going to do my avodah and I'm fine. Or I don't have my chokas, I don't koach for my chokas, or I am a bit scared of these people are crazy. Shut up! What are you doing? They're about to sin and you're going to sit quietly by yourself? A little bit of chutzpah, a little bit of self-esteem, some confidence. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name is being disgraced and you're going to sit alone quietly for whatever reason it is? I'm sorry for saying the S word. Shevet Levi, they stood up and revealed. They were revealed and they were strong against these powers. Against Ovdei Bodazar, Lechem, God Nemer, Vayu Alavim, Be'itza Sham Benja Shekar, was Asman Li, Haydu Sheetzu Befol, Lechem, Aman Koved Hashem. They didn't stop in their minds, oh wow, it's a bad thing, sad. Oh, look, people are sinning. Oh, I'm just going to sit in my rocking chair and do nothing. No, go out, make a war. Make a war against the people. If that just means to go and hug them and say, I love you so much, maybe you can come to chill with me. And sometimes we have to do it to ourselves. Sometimes our bodies are doing things, sometimes we're doing things to HaKadosh Baruch, we're doing Maisa. We're thinking thoughts. And I'm just like, fine, okay, let me do it, it's fine, my neshama is clean. No, your neshama has to get up, self-esteem, confidence, excitement, energy, fire. Ish Kodesh has to be so most nefesh for these things. Chiddush Shirim. Keep it in mind now for the most important teaching. Lasois es Shabbos. We have to make the Shabbos l'Dairosam for all the generations. Darasam Lashon Dira. Darasam is written without a vav. It's chaser. So therefore it's actually Dirasam to your dwellings. This is the sweetest Torah. A Jew has to live within the Shabbos. A Jew can't live Shabbos. A person can't have Shabbos. A person has to live within the Shabbos. Shabbos yakifu mikol tzaddim. Shabbos will surround you from all the sides. And when you go into Shabbos, the Shabbos should be surrounding your kol kulo, like when you go into a deer, when you go into an apartment, when you go into a dwelling place. If you go into a house and your house hasn't swallowed you up, then you're not in your own house. If your house swallows you up, it becomes kol kulo part of you. So same thing by Shabbos. If Shabbos doesn't completely envelop you inside of the kochos of Shabbos, you're missing the point. We have to go in it, go inside of it, and let it envelop you like a big giant blanket, like a big comforter quilt. Like a big fat Hasidic Yid giving you a hug. And then you crawl inside of his beard and become like an embryo in there. Kol kulo inside that ahava of his beard of a Yid. Because the beard is mamshech chesed, mamshech tashpas of chesed into the world. And so when you're in that Yid's beard, that's like Shabbos. Keep that in mind. Rabbi Nachman says we should be like animals in the forest. That's our end with. B'ezrat Hashem, we should be zocheh to connect to all teachings. Rabbi Nachman, Tzaddik Yisod Olam, Nachman, November, Kol Chachma. We should connect to the teachings of the Kedushas Levi, the Lezik Mitzvah Sasha. We connect to the teachings of Yisrael Moshe from Ger, Mamash converting every single day. We should connect to the teachings of the Meshilach, Mamash pouring the waters from all the worlds. We should connect to Degem Achon Ephraim, the flagship of Chassidus, the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. We should connect to the Baal Shem Tov. We should connect to Rabbi Nachman again. We should connect to Jewish Tzion. We should connect to Eretz Yisrael, to Avis Yisrael, to Am Yisrael. We should connect to Moshe Tzuriel, Tzur, El, the rock of HaKadosh Baruch. We should connect to the Avos, Chesed, Gvura, Emes. That was all of them, right? Yeah, Tiferes, Nu. And we should connect to everything else, the Tanaim, the Amoraim, every other tzaddik that ever lived in the world. We should connect to ourselves, most importantly. Connect to our friends, but most importantly, we should connect to our neshama, the Shoresh, Nishvaseinu. And through this, we can be zocha to live inside that fat, chassid, big, bushy beard.